I got a track from my friend Sonny Brasco, 80 BPM trap hip hop vibe, and I'm gonna mix it using the channel strip that we made earlier in the week, so I can show you how do I go about mixing a whole track when I get stems and I get a folder of audio files and I bring it in and I'm like, what is this? I'm gonna show you how I do it, and we're gonna do it in live right now. Hopefully, it's only gonna be about 45 minutes. So far, I spent a little while on it this morning. I got an idea of what's in the session, what tracks I have to work with, how does it sound, what is the song, and excuse me for snuffling. And I'm going to jump in and start doing that as soon as my feed pops up on my monitor screen so I can see your comments, hear your questions, see what's going on with you in your world, and keep it all connected. Here's the track. Isn't that cool? All right, there's my little feed. Click to expand. Yep. Turn that one off. This one on. So who's here? Let me know who's here. Say hi. Rolf's here. Mikey Archimedes, Gabor Farkas. What's going on, y'all? Mikey, this might be right up your alley, dude. Andy May, Stefan S. You guys waiting for me? Come on. I'm so glad we can do these little jams every day. It's making me happy. In between, I've been riding my mountain bike up and down hills, like getting crazy exercise. So hopefully, Hugo's here. Cool, man. Yo, Hugo, check out the Ableton site for the Live 10. They're giving a free 90-day trial of Live 10 Suite, so you could possibly jack in and get version 10 for free. Sorry about the 9.7 thing. The channel strip that I put out I made it in 9.7, so I didn't realize anybody with an older version of 9, it's not going to open. So sorry about that. Now, here, what do we have? Well, since I'm in screen share, maybe I can show you. Okay, so I started with this folder where Sonny sent me Sonny Brasco, guy here in Pittsburgh. Cool guy, cuts hair, makes beats, MCs, got a little studio going on. Really cool guy to work with. So he sent me this, a bunch of files. Luckily they were labeled, so I got 808, main kick, dirty piano sample. They all say MPC 2000, so I sort of know what they're coming from. And I brought them into Ableton, made a bunch of new tracks, and did my usual thing, right? So I grouped, like purple, green, blue, lows, drums, instruments, and I started putting it together. Let me know if you're hearing that low end. I'll be happy if you can hear that. And that's two sounds. Boom, right? What else is in the track? Somebody soloed? What happened to my beats? Oh, there they are. Okay, right, because I'm at a different part of the song. That is a little bit tricky thing of working with somebody else's track, is you gotta like find little spots to loop stuff. And I group these. So let me make a little loop where the beats are. Let's make that an 8-bar loop. So I've got hi-hat, snare drum, and 2 little kick drum layers. Pop, pop on top, and a bumpier one in the middle. So that's what's going on with my beats. Pretty simple, but I actually took a bunch of work to get there. And the really exciting part of this, here's the heart of the track. Now, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm guessing Sonny was hanging out, chilling in the studio, checking out samples. This sample came along, and he's like, wait a minute, let's loop this. I just want to flow with this sample for a second. When you get a sample off a record, it's so fun. You can hear this bass line, boom, boom. Maybe let's go a little deeper into this. How would I show you the bass line? I'm gonna turn on my low pass filter. Sorry, too much cue. So here's the groove. That's what makes this sample cool for me. To start off with, there's that bass line going on. And then check out at the high end of it, these little bells. I love that. So we've got a cool sample, and then the mid-range is like vocals. Ah. So it does that thing where it's like a continuous sound. It's got stuff going on, and you might just feel like I want to just add some layers on there. So you put in some beats, and right now this might be like 90s hip hop, right? Bap. And then throw in that 808 on the bottom, and that takes it to that bass dimension that everybody needs. But this did not sound like this when I started. It did not sound anything even close to this. And to keep it interesting, I went and put on our friendly little channel strip that we just made last week. So I'm going to run through these tracks and show you what I did to get them in shape and make it sound like it sounds right now. And I like how it sounds. I'm about halfway done with the mix. I didn't get into any like reverbs or delays or effects or anything like that. I didn't do any side chaining. I didn't even really do a lot of EQing. I did some subtractive EQ, which means I cut out parts I didn't like, mostly with high pass filters, low end shaping things to answer the question, what's the most important low end sound? And just doing that was enough to clear space in the mix. I didn't really boost EQ. I didn't really get into detail sculpting the mid range or anything like that. So right now all I'm doing is turning off all these channel strips to show you the raw sound I had when I started. It was something like this, but even now I've done a bunch of gain staging. I'm not going to tell you the numbers exactly, but I just want you to remember, point out, or see that my low bus group, this fader's at -9. This one's at, let's say, -12. Let's say this one's at -18. And my groups are all coming through. All these channels, they're all pretty far down. The rim shots are up here around -2, but you can see every channel has a bunch of headroom on it, because I'm not trying to get my volume from jacking up faders right now. That's like rookie mixing. You don't want to try and hear stuff by jacking up faders. And look at these audio files. Look at this, like, these things have some, they're well recorded, you know, they're clean. I just get the sound I want, no extra crap in there. But those are pretty quiet tracks. So let's start at the beginning. I'm going to jump in. If you have any questions right now, if this doesn't make sense, or if you think I'm going too fast or something, let me know. But let's keep this loop going and work with the 808 boom on top. Now, here's what I love. Instead of having to mute all these channels one by one, I'm going to go to my drums group, mute, instrument group, mute, and even mute that other kick drum. So now only working with this low end boom. And I want to get a sample where it does that right there. So let's make that a 4-bar loop. And what do you hear? I hear some high end going on in that. I'm glad that Sonny noted this as an MPC 2000 sample. That tells me a little bit about how it came in, how it got sampled, where it came from. So let me undo some of these parameters and see what we got. So first, utility switch. I'm going to turn this on with 0, mono that sound. Bass, boom, sub bass, keep it low. And I don't need to add a ton of gain. I'm looking at this little green fader, great green VU meter over here, and that's coming up pretty well, pretty high up in the inside the channel volume, like the signal to noise ratio. So let's move on to the high pass filter. The question is, how low is this sound? Do I need to cut anything out of it? So I go to my master channel. Notice I'm boosting a lot on the master channel just to get my broadcast volume up. And here's my master channel spectrum analyzer. Clearly that sound is really important down at 50 hertz. And that's pretty much all that we need from there, is that big old boom. So let's crank up our high pass filter right around. See, if you go up higher, there's nothing in there. So we're going to keep this right down low. I like to go just a little tiny bit below it, like 48, 49, something like that. Add some resonance, so it's like we're getting a little EQ boost right there. And let's minimize that one down. Now, this is a great example of where we want the gate. I'm not trying to gate the actual sound, because I want that whole long boom. So I'm not trying to cut off the tail, but I am hearing a little bit of white noise in that sound. Let me know if you can hear any static or white noise. Like, type in white noise if you can hear any of that. I'm going to use the gate to just cut out the space in between those 808 booms. And maybe we'll be able to hear that. So notice with the channel strip, when the gate threshold is all the way up, the gate plugin is off. As soon as I move the threshold, the plugin turns on. It's totally gated. We got to roll it down to get sound. Andy says, yeah, I got the subtle fuzz noise here. Yep. Now, if the gate threshold is too high, I cut off the end of the boom, which I don't want to do. I want that whole boom. And then in between beats, you can see when the orange gain reduction comes on, the gate shuts off, which is great. That's exactly what a gate should do. Cut off that noise in between the, just the background system noise of whatever the recording device was that they did when they were tracking it. Now let's go do some compression. Why do I need compression? Do I need compression at all? Well, the first thing I want to do is use this compressor just to read the VU meters. And you can see as it goes, it gets louder and louder. So really all I want to do is compress the loudest ones to make sure that this is kind of like a consistent 808 boom. So it's going to be the same pressure on all those hits. So this is not a heavy compression job. Something like that. 4-to-1. I'm not even going to get crazy on the details. I know that the attack time is good. Add a little bit of gain. And now I can still hear that fuzz when the gate is open. So this is where the EQ is going to come in. I'm kind of giving you away the secret with that. You can see that. Channel, strip, EQ scale, doink. And now let's select EQ 8, band 8, kick it in. I selected my low pass filter shape. So now I can use the EQ to get rid of that hiss when the gate is open, when the sound is coming through. We can roll it way down. And now we've just got lovely 808, nothing else happening. And just for illustration, what would I do with the limiter in this situation? If I turn up the limiter gain, it's going to hit the ceiling on the limiter, so it's not going to get, this VU meter is not going to clip red. It's just going to drive that 808 up into the limiter and do a different kind of compression. You can see those louder sounds get hit a little bit, so let's leave some of that on there. And now, ready for the next sound. Oh, this is like a tiny little pitter patter. Hugo said, are you using this on all the channels? Yes. He said, I'm still using the sub bass effects rack. Yeah, adapting it to the specific sound when it's not a sub. Yeah. Oh, it has a sidechain compressor in it already. That was from, I think, the original course of Make Space for Bass back in like 2018. Yeah, you can keep going with that. This channel strip is like what I did yesterday or Tuesday, which was yesterday. I made an Ableton model of what you get on a live sound mixing board. So the signal flow would go from like your top input gain, and then filter, gate, compressor, EQ, possibly limiter or somewhere else. So that's why I built that. Let's dig into this kick drum here. First problem, oh, my channel strip is off. Derp. Let's undo all these. Channel strip, threshold up, filter off. First problem is I can barely even hear this thing, so that's what the utility plugin is doing. Crank up some gain so I can hear the damn thing. Kick drum, mono, no brainer. Minimize that. You could even add more gain, but we'll get some more gain from other places. Now let's just check our spectrum analyzer. What does this kick drum look like? Okay, I can hear that it's doing the same rhythm as the as that 808. And this line has a lot of bass in there. I don't want that super low 30 hertz stuff. I don't even really want that. It doesn't have to be super sub. It just has to be low enough to go along with that 808 and fit together. I want these two to sound like one sound. You know what I'm saying? I want them to hit and be like good and have it feel like it's basically the same thing. So I'm going to set this at 60 hertz and move on. Not going to go too crazy trying to make it perfect or anything. And does that have any noise in there? Aha. It does. This is where attack time matters. A longer attack time is going to take away that click. Make it be like... So we're going to keep it real short, like 2 milliseconds. Short little release. And I'm not sure if you can hear it, but I can hear it, and we're cleaning up that hiss, slight little noise floor in between the hits. Now, compression, what do we need? Do we need compression? Well, let's see. Just like with the boom sound, that last hit is going to be the loudest. Boom. So I want to catch that last one. Compress the last one, and just think of getting all these up to the same, within the same volume range, and have that range be louder. Now I'm looking at this last little VU meter, adding some makeup gain, squeeze most of the juice as possible out of this sound. Get it pumping. Now the more I turn it up, the more I can hear that high frequency noise. So let's kick in the EQ. And since this is down on our bass end, I can make that even thumpier down there. Now do they fit together? Whoa. Sorry. So now we have an interesting question. How do I mix this low end? What can I do to make this sound right when it gets over here on the master channel? This is jacked up kind of loud. Remember, I'm doing a broadcast, so I wanted to add some gain on here to make sure you can hear it coming through on your end. Normally when I'm producing, I would not have that glue compressor on the master channel at all. But what I'm going for right now is I have these two sounds grouped together coming into the low group. That fader is down at -9. This channel is peaking around -12, -13. And I want to make sure I have plenty of headroom to work with my whole mix. So just for illustration, when I'm mixing and getting ready, in my room, it'd be like this, and the master channel's got a good 12 dB of headroom also. And I might do something like, since this kick drum is the lesser of the two sounds, I'd probably turn up the volume on my monitor so that sounds nice and loud, and then fade up the other one underneath it. And my strategy here is I want the low end of that boom to be like whoom, and then the channel 2 kick drum to make it feel like the 808 has a thump on the front. And we can adjust the details of those two together. But that's the low end, the low end theory, the low end strategy. Super important to keep your channels down. So if I want to have more of this channel 2 kick drum, I got plenty of space right here to go up. If I need more of the boom, got plenty of space to go up. And once I have them working together as a pair, if I need more of that low end in the whole mix, I have one fader to put my whole boom up and down. And when I move that one fader, I don't mess up the relationship between these two, which is what is really makes it a lot easier to mix. So let's move on to our beats group. Our beats group, I said. Something nasty is going on over here. Okay, kick layers. All right, so I bypassed that effects rack. Let me just undo everything. I want to make sure when I kick it in, when I turn it on, it's not going to blast you with tons of volume, right? All right, so this is a clicky kind of a kick. I can already tell this is going to be like the top end, the clicky part of the kick layer. And the first question I have is, okay, these two kicks are happening at the same time. How do these interact with the main boom? Are they fighting against it, Are they in the same frequency range? Are they happening at the same time? Or are they separated at a totally different time in the track? Let's hear. Oh, this is great. That boom happens all by itself, and these two, boom. They're totally separated in time, which means I can let these two have a nice heavy low end, and I don't have to worry about, oh, they're going to be fighting against the frequency on the boom or something. When you're mixing house, techno, or 4/4 music, a lot of times kick drum layers, they do conflict because they're all on the same 4, boom, 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 boom. So you have to really think about how to put them together in layers, but these are separated in time. So if your drums are separated in time and they're not happening literally at the same time, they can all be huge, which is awesome. And it sounds like channel 4 is the beefy boom one or bottom one, and channel 5 is going to be more of a high frequency crack. So that tells me what I need to know. We're still on kick drums, so let's kick in the utility, and I want to see the VU meter at the end of this channel. I'm going to add some gain, get that up loud a little bit, width at 0, mono switch in. I'm happy with that. High pass filter. Why is that at 120? I had that there already. Yeah. Because I want this to be the kick drum that comes through on earbuds, laptops, phones, small speakers, and it's just kind of like a higher pitched one. And there's some noise in this. I don't know if you can hear that. There's a little bit of high frequency stuff in there, so I'm just going to gate that out. Let that keep doing its thing. Compression. Do I need compression on here? I don't need compression in terms of changing the dynamics of the sound, but over here I do want some more level, so I'm going to use the compressor just for basically adding makeup gate. So I get the threshold just to where it's starting to do gain reduction, so I know I'm in the right place. The more I add gain, the more we can hear that. Now you can really hear what the gate is doing. You can hear that noise. Bop, 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 bop. So how do we get rid of the noise when the gate is open? Answer, we turn on the EQ. Wrong button, Steve. And that might not be perfect. I'm only using one low pass filter, but hey, this is going to be in the mix with a bunch of other sounds, so I'm not going to go crazy EQing this one kick drum. I'm going to move on to my other kick drum. Bam. Ooh. It's bumpy, it's crunchy. What is happening? Oh, there's the whole thing, all right. Okay, so what's my thought process first? How loud is this sound? It is not coming through that channel loud enough, so let's add some gain. I think it was up 7, whatever. High pass filter. What is this doing in the world of frequency? Bottom of that one is right down there around 50. That is a super nice low thumpy kick drum. So let's let that be just where it is at around 50. Adding a nice little resonant bump to make sure we know coming through at 50. And I don't know about you, but I am hearing some high frequency stuff on here. There's two kinds of noise in there. There's a system noise in between the hits. And I hear a little click at the end of that beat. Do you hear that? So this is a great example of why you need a gate. To just solve some problems in your track. Can I get that end off? Okay, I got the noise in between, got rid of that from using the gate. We're going to go to the EQ for that other little click sound, and doesn't really need to be compressed. If you're really into compression, you can, you could like compress it down way hard and smash it up again louder and everything. But the main idea is use your threshold and makeup gain together. So as the more the threshold comes down, the more you need makeup gain coming back up again. And if you back off the threshold, remember to turn your makeup gain down so you don't blast your ears. Or in my case, your live feed. Little tiny bit of compression on there. Really what I want to do is match the levels of these two kick drums within this thing so they sound good. So let's crank up the EQ scale. What do we get? And that low pass filter takes care of the little click at the end of the sample. I don't know if the sample wasn't trimmed or what. So by itself, channel 5 sounds a little like knock knock, someone's on the closet door hitting the donk donk donk, like it sounds kind of wooden. But you put these together and you get some nice bumps happening. So let's go back over to our boom track. I'm going to be smart and make sure I bring the volume down before I unmute. Okay. So what I'm going for here is within the drums bus, I want both of these kick drums to feel good together. Actually, that's why I grouped them. When I brought in these audio files, these were all on single channels. And I thought, hey, these two kick drums are always happening at exactly the same time, which means I want them in one group, and I want to be able to use that group volume to mix where those kick drums are, so I don't have to mix each one individually. Now, if I want more of the high one, I can pull back like that. Or if there's too much of the high, you know, I can make adjustments, but I want to have that kick drum as one instrument coming through on here. And really what I'm doing is building the low end platform of the mix first. Now without my broadcast master channel, I just want to show you. In our monitors, we had it sounding nice and loud, and there's tons of headroom, 17 dB of headroom. That's crazy. That means we got lots of space to add in snare drums, vocals, bass lines, chords, anything else, the whole kitchen sink. So let's move on. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm just going to keep jamming through here and show you what I did. Bring the volume down. Let's hear these rim shot sounds. Just like with the kicks, I had two separate audio files, so I grouped them into one rim shot channel. Take the two sounds, you send audio to the group, not the master, and then you send the group to the drums channel. So I can mute them, I can bring them both up and down. And what did I do with this? Oh, sorry, I just wanted to hear one of them. Same thing. I want to get to the mid-range parts of the sound, so I'm not going to do each beat in detail. But I added some utility gain. I kept the stereo width wide because it doesn't need to be a mono sound. A little high-pass filter on here. This channel strip's not on, Steve. Let's turn the channel strip on. Pop. By the time I got to this channel, I realized, okay, every sample that got recorded through here is going to have the same background noise, so I had the gate basically doing the same thing on every sound to get rid of that high frequency stuff. Same strategy with compression, little touch of gain reduction. I'm not trying to squish it, I just want to bring up the level. And I didn't even EQ this at all. I feel like I got a sample that was EQ'd a bit already. So I pretty much did that on these two sounds. Let's just make sure that one is on. Doink. And then the last step is to mix them with the kick drum. Rule of thumb for hip hop is the snare drum should kind of make you feel like you almost have to blink when you're playing the music loud. It's like it almost gives you that reflex, like stimulates your eyelid reflex. So I might take my kick drums down a little bit. Notice I did not, if I want more rim shot, do I take this and jack it up to plus, 95? No. I leave it down here around 4, pull back a little bit on my kicks so that when I go up with the group level, I get all that kick drum bump back. And then the snares, the rim shots feel louder. What's next? Our friendly neighborhood hi-hat sound. Now, I can just turn this up and get that in the mix with the channel strip off. But let's see, what is in this hi-hat? Oh, if I'm turning up that hi-hat, all I want is the part up here around 8K, 10K. The whole mid-range and everything else has like a little low kind of wobble thing happening in there, which I don't really want. So I'm going to kick this in. Oh, so much crisper. I don't even need that much. So when I turned it down right here from -3 down to -11, you could think I'm taking 8 dB of background noise out of the mix. And then when you keep it in mind to do that on every channel, your mix gets cleaner. That's all we're doing is making a clean mix. That's how I get the low end out of sounds that don't need any low end. What did I do here? Utility gain, added some. Stereo width, fine, left it like that. High pass filter. This is interesting. You can really cut a lot out of hi-hats. You could cut it up to like 4,000 and still have a hi-hat that works. So again, not going crazy into detail. Ooh, you hear that? Check that out. The end of the hi-hat sample has a little bit of a click on it, and there's that system noise. So you get the gate right in the right place, and it totally cleans that up. Then once we have that, it's just a matter of a little bit of compression, and I don't feel like I need EQ. I might want to do some high-end boosting now that I've got kind of the shape of the hi-hat done in the lows. You could do something like that, but when you have such a pure tone as hi-hat, honestly, boosting the high end of this is not very much different from just turning up the gain. Like, what am I doing here? I add a couple dB of gain. That's really almost the same thing as adding a couple of dB of gain on the high shelf because the whole sound is high frequency. So if you have a good clean sound, adding gain on EQ, adding gain on the master channel might be like equal, like 6 of one, half dozen of another. So that's a little EQ theory. Don't need the limiter. So there we go. Now we have a basic rough mix with our low end working and our beats working. I think that hi-hat's too loud, and bring those beats up a little bit. And let me just check what my master gain staging would look like if I bypass my broadcast output booster. Oh, that's perfect. So the 808 boom, the biggest part of the mix, the beats are in, and we still have 12 dB of headroom, so we can add in everything else. We'll still have headroom, and we'll be able to export a pre-master, like a stereo mix, that's ready to go out for actual mastering. So now let's get rid of this stuff and go back to the main idea of the track. So what do we have to do with this sound? Well, let's just hear it by itself. What's the first thing you notice about this sound? Type in what you notice about it. What's the first problem we're going to try and solve? Not the part about volume, because we know we have to make it louder. But if you look at these VU meters, a big clue. What's the first thing you have to solve? And meanwhile, I'm going to normalize all this stuff so we don't give away all the secrets. Is that in or out? That's out. Type in if you have any idea. Since there's a time lag, I think you probably already typed in the answer. What I'm going to tell you is it's off-center to the left. And that might be cool for the record that was recorded at this part of the record. Maybe that was cool, but what I noticed is that, I want to get it a little louder, and I'm going to have to center that. So I did that with The balance. Yeah, Andy, I knew there was an answer on the way. Exactly. The left right was off. I want to get that centered. And check it out. It's the bass. When I put the bass in mono, the bass comes into the middle. So this probably was from a period of time when they were recording records and making it like, if you're at a show and you're seeing a band and the bass player is on the left side of the stage, believe it or not, they used to mix records where the bass would be on the left speaker and then everybody else would be on the right side. And that had something to do with, they figured out that low end can make the record needle jump out of the record groove. So they're like, oh, well, if we put the bass in the center of the record, the needle gets bass on both sides and then it doesn't get bounced out of the groove and make the record skip. So if you put the bass in the center, the record needle would track in the center of the groove, and basically you could play louder. You could make a louder record without having it make the record skip. Pretty cool. So here's the part where you put the sample on and you're drinking a beer with your friends and you're just like, I could listen to that all day. So what do I want to pull out? At the beginning of this lesson, I sort of showed you how I want to pull out the that bass line is cool and those little bells are cool. And then I just want to keep it sounding kind of natural right there. Let's see what it looks like on the old Spectrum. Pretty nice full range. You can see peaks coming up of individual sounds. But I like down here. Boom, boom. Listen to that low bass sound. Dum, boom. Dum, boom. It's coming up right around 68 something, 70 hertz. Which means when I'm EQing, I want to boost up that range to get more of that bass line. Because notice we didn't hear a bass line yet, right? There's no like bass guitar instrument or anything. So that sample is going to be whatever we want for bass. That sample is going to be it. So let's go to our high pass filter and kick it in up to about 65. Right around 70, nice resonant bump to pull up as much of that bass line as we can. At this point, I would even think, do I want to double that bass line with a MIDI instrument and copy it? But I don't think so. Nothing to do with the gate, don't need it. Now the compressor is going to do something different than we've done before. Now I want to kind of squash this to think of it like leveling this sample so that it's going to float evenly throughout the whole track. So I'm going to pull my ratio down a little bit lower. And let's try auto release, see if that feels good. And this time I want the release time to be long enough that it stays, the output of this channel stays kind of at the same level the whole time. That's a good amount of gain reduction, but it's serving the purpose I want. And now for EQ. And I already dialed in the EQ on this one. This was the first track that I spent some time on EQing. So let me just run through the decisions I made here. Let's normalize these out and we'll go through them one by one. Do you like seeing the EQ stuff? Let me know if you like EQing. Type in EQ. I like EQing. It always seems to do something good for me. So what's on band 3? Boost it up, sweep it around. That is the definition of low-end mud, so I pulled that down. What do we do on band 4? Right around there. It sounds kind of smeared. You know, you can take it out and you don't lose anything. But when it's in there, it sounds a little nasty. Here's my favorite frequency to cut in the 600s, all right? It's not a bad frequency like it is in some of those drum beats, but it's just resonant enough I want it to cut down. See what I mean? What else do we do? What's on band 6? little bit of that papery stuff. And again, remember that different sounds have nice spots and ugly spots. So sometimes 1K could be beautiful, 900 could be great in a vocal, and then in something like a saxophone, it might be like, ooh. So we're just gonna dip that out a little bit. Band 7 is, you do anything with that? Oh yeah, a little bit of a lift right here on those bells. That little high-pitched melody I thought was pretty cool. For a subtle effect, you want a narrow Q, narrow bandwidth. So go for something around 1.5 for like a natural sound. Usually when I'm cutting, I use a tighter Q. When I'm boosting, I use a narrower Q. Band 8 is not doing anything, but band 1 is my baseline lift. And I used a low shelf because I want everything in that baseline coming up a bit. So there we go with some EQing. Got a nice level loud coming up through the channel level. And let's drop it back into our full mix. See what we got. I think this bus group can go up. And again, thanks to Sonny Brasco, Pittsburgh producer, for making this track and sharing it with me and letting us hear what's going on when we're making it. Right now we got something that sounds kind of cool. It's got low end, it's got that drop. The beats are cracking in there. Maybe a little more hi-hat. And most importantly now, this sample is rolling through the middle, carrying us along. What else was in here? Oh. We're getting on an hour here, so I'm just going to kick in these channel strips and show you the genius of Sonny Brasco. I'm not making fun of you, bro. I really think this is cool. So these are little things that, like, keep that beat going. Little piano loop. The only thing I might do is on this channel, yeah, I could tell there was no EQ on there. This one, I'm just going to cut down something in that upper mid area. Because by itself, it's not bad, you know? It's not like an awful sound. But when I'm in the mix, I notice that compared to that little piano deal, channel 12 was a little too, like, scratchy kind of. Hear that? Yeah, taking that down. That's all I wanted to do. And look, that's at 1,000. So sometimes taking out 1,000 makes it feel right. Who's on 13 over here? Whoop! And now we've got a cool track. So we're getting on an hour there. I'm happy with the basic gain staging and basic mix levels, so I might pause our broadcast and leave the next stage for reverbs, delays, sidechain compression, any other little goodies, like maybe throwing some of that clattery chorus on those beats. So without our master channel, rough master on here, here's what it sounds like. And that's a pretty decent little mix. And then we kick in the master. And notice again, I'm just doing makeup gain here. I'm not doing any compression at all. If I was, I'd do it 2-to-1, auto release, slow attack, dial it down a bunch. And check out this new trick. This is gonna be the last little thing. If you put a sidechain in and filter the sound that's triggering the compressor, you can make it so the compressor on your master channel doesn't react to the kick drum and that big bass boom. So basically we're going to be able to use the compressor to just squish stuff and not crush the kick drum. See how that compression's hitting right now. Watch what happens if I undo this little input filter. So there we go. Let's turn it up. And even to really smack it up to top level. There we go. So that's what I got for you today. Let me know how you like it. Let me know what you think. If you think, I hope you learned something from it. And just in about an hour, we ran through how to approach mixing somebody else's track when you start off with no idea what's going on. I started off with this folder of wave files. I know he makes hip hop. I asked him for a trap beat or hip hop beat, so I knew kind of what world it was gonna be in. He told me it's 80 BPM. And then I was able to see, okay, I got beats, I got 808s, I got samples, and I had to drag them in here. I had to group them into tracks. Put the tracks into groups. So I get my rim shots together in groups, I get my kick layers together. I get my low end coming through in a mono group over there to make sure that I can hear that nice low end. I can add in those beats and still have headroom, and then work with all the mid-range samples. Andy May said it's a jam, definitely helpful. Cool, thanks so much. I'm really glad to see that. For me, the stuff that took me forever to learn was how to get all these things feeling loud and still having room on the master channel. And it was so hard for me. If I had just individual channels without bus groups, I try to put the kick drum up and then the 808's out of balance. And then I try to put the snare drum up and then the kick drum's too quiet. And I was just constantly going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, making like little 2 dB adjustments on every channel. And it's like, let me go back in Cameraland. There's a classic funny joke about a guy where the table's too big, right? It's like, oh, my table's too high, my kids can't reach, I'll just, no, that's not what it is. The table's wobbly and one leg is too long, right? So he's like, oh, the table's wobbly. If I just cut a little bit off that one leg, it's gonna sit perfect and then it's not gonna wobble and then our drinks don't get spilled. So he goes and cuts off a little bit off one table leg, but what do you know, it's too much. Now the other leg is wobbly. So I gotta cut off a little bit, and then you put a little piece of wood under this one and cut off that one, and then the table's crooked, but it's the other leg. And he keeps going around and around and around and around, cutting everything off until he finally gets it perfect and the table's like, like down here off the ground. That's what it feels like mixing when you're trying to just make this a little bit louder than this and get that a little bit, just like a little bit, oh, and I gotta go back over here and a little bit over here, and then all of a sudden you're just like, your mix is jacked up to the ceiling and you can't hear anything because everything is louder than everything else. Andy May says, I keep getting feedback about it, try to mess with the volume and it's not working. Learning little by little and tutorials are helpful. Oh, and improving that, thanks. Hey, cool, I'm really glad to hear that. I thought that was a question. Ooh, Hugo, love that final sidechain EQ trick. Yeah, man, that's what you get when you buy a hardware mastering compressor, is you'll have an input filter. So basically you can have your master compression only reacting to the vocal and the stuff on top. And especially for house music, your compressor is not gonna be going poof, 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 poof. You're not gonna be smashing your kick drum every time it comes through. You want your kick drum to go through loud, and then maybe just have the top stuff just be like shh, so it's like poof, poof, poof. And the other stuff on top is, it's just ride in the mix like that. That's what it's all about. Wow, that was an hour. Can you believe it? I feel like it was 5 minutes. So what do we have next? We got to put some reverb, put some effects on those drum beats, and probably do some bus group compression. I'm going to compress that drum beat together in the instrument group, the bus group. And that might be it. This is one of those beats. It's big, it's simple. Really what it needs is a vocal. I mean, there's space in there for a vocal. And yeah, I could hear it. So that's what's going on. If you have any questions, type them in, let me know. And also, just for a little future, I'm really excited about the feedback on the 74 Creative Strategies project. We're going to take those from the book's downstairs, and build them out into hands-on session lessons where you can take those strategies and use them to make tracks. Now, I've been reading through the chapters, and some of them don't really apply to an Ableton project. Like, for example, one of them is called active listening, where you listen to tracks you like, note down what you like about it, and then take those influences and bring them to your own music. So maybe I could show you one of my tracks where I use that process, but that's not exactly, it's not like EQing or something where you can actually do it in an Ableton project. So maybe we're not going to end up doing 74 actual session lessons. But I do want to go through all 74 chapters and just talk through the creative process and basically do it together so we make some music. Nobody knows how long we're going to be in this quarantine thing. Hopefully it's going to be over soon, but I'm really glad y'all are coming in every day, hanging out with me, spending time on tracks, asking questions, using the presets and putting them into your music. I haven't even commented on any tracks in the group this week. I'm going to try and get to it because I really like doing it, but I've been busy with, making new stuff. So that's where I'm at. I don't see any more final questions. So thanks a lot for watching, y'all, and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you, Sonny Brasco. I'm going to drop a link to Sonny's stuff in this replay. All right, see y'all.